this year's International Day of Zero Waste puts the focus on fashion and textiles.
And welcome to this webinar on innovative solutions for achieving zero waste in China and beyond. And I'm very honored, as I said, to be here as we gather to examine some innovative solutions contributing to the goal of zero waste. We have a packed agenda and we'll try to be efficient, but can everyone hear me okay?
Firstly, let's welcome Professor Walter Vermeulen. He is Emeritus Associate Professor at Copernicus Institute of Sustainable Development at Utrecht University. His research focus on the governance of sustainable protection and consumption systems. He has also been active in the International Sustainable Development Research Society as a past president. The title of his presentation is 5 Essential Tools for Evaluating Circular Economy. Please, Professor Walter.
Thank you for inviting me. What I will do in the coming 15 minutes is to give a broad overview of the most essential tools for evaluating the progress of circular economy initiatives and policies. I will start with a little short history on the concept of circular economy, and then I'll go step by step through 5 tools which are essential. On each of these, this is going automatically, I think, so maybe you can go back still. On each of these tools, I could expand much more time than is given. So what I will do is give a sort of a helicopter view of the most essential tools to be applied in monitoring the progress towards circular economy. I have added in the PDF that I've shared for everybody also all the links to the relevant literature in which examples of what I'm talking about are given, and also the details of these approaches. Next slide, please. If we look at circular economy, we have to be aware that the concept is not very new, actually. We can distinguish maybe 3 periods of the development of circular economy. The first one is from the 70s to the 90s, in which circular economy, or it was in those days called recycling policies, were first developed. And they mostly focused on the output side of value chains, of product life cycles, addressing proper incineration and ending and managing landfills. In many countries, especially in Europe, but also in America, this led to quite some issues. And in the 90s, this inspired policies to move more towards connecting the input and the output side of production cycles. And at the input side, attention for pollution prevention was created, environmental management systems were implemented, and the design and redesign also addressing resource use were developed. And only recently, the concept of circular economy was fully addressed. And now the orientation, please go one back still. The orientation is much more moving towards maximizing value retention and keeping materials in the cycles and avoiding the use of new materials. Of course, this is very much linked to the extinction of resources, the scarcity of resources. And nowadays, we have to realize that the 3 R's, which are often used to express circularity and recycling policies, are in fact a little bit of out of date. They are too simple for the current day situation. What I show here in this figure is a very complex representation. Please go back still. One slide back, please. This, oh yeah. This figure was created based on a review of the academic literature about recycling and 3Rs, 4Rs, etc., promoted in the literature over the last 25 years. And we made a synthesis out of this. And actually, this 10 R's framework nowadays serves very well to analyze the practices around circular economy. And what I show is a representation of one of the two distinguished cycles. This is the produce and use cycle. There is also one dedicated to the redesign, and so apart from the mass production cycle, there's also a cycle of product lifetimes. The cycle is quite complex, so now you may move indeed to the next one. We also have a very simple version of this expressed as a ladder. And what we see is that in the past, the policies were mostly focused on the recycling of recollected mass materials, very much mixed up, and even energy recovery by incineration was counted as recycling. And the 10 R's gives a preference for an hierarchy of preferences. So it's better to actually engage in middle loops and short loops rather than the long loops, which is only the end solution. And the current focus of the policy is far more on the short ones. And for example, in the Netherlands, the circular economy policy has a major target, a policy goal, framed as reducing the input of virgin materials in production, rather than stating it as ending the landfilling of waste, which is hardly done anymore in the Netherlands. Next slide, please. The 10 R's sort of focus on the physical material flows. And that's actually not enough to fully express what is the essence of circular economy. So for that, we developed this figure with four different types of views on what circular economy is. And on the right top, we see the technocratic circular economy, which is very much counting on innovation to solve the problems. To the left, you see the reformist circular society, which intends to make small changes in the current capitalist system, so small reforms. But there's also a view that to really create circular societies, it needs to be much more transformational. It also needs to address the overconsumption and the unfair distribution of the benefits of our common planet. And the challenge is to actually identify to what extent policies are just in the techno-optimistic side, or to what extent they actually also include changes which are needed to really get to a transformative circular society. Actually, the latest presentation by Rodrigo Sabatini is very much in this last area. Next slide, please. We applied these two tools in various studies, and as a theoretical starting point, they are very helpful. So we applied this for plastic policy, the discourse on plastic policies. We applied it to circular cities policies. Interesting for this webinar, very much so, with examples of Glasgow, Copenhagen, and Amsterdam. We also used it to evaluate the European Union policies, various extended producer responsibility policies in the Netherlands and other European countries. We also used it in a survey to see how the global public actually sees circular economy. And this, for example, also been applied on the developments in Japan. And the common finding is that a lot of policy documents actually they use the rhetorics promoting the transformative circular society, but if you look at the instruments and the interventions written down in the policies, it still often remains examples of the technocratic circular economy. So we need to, please, one back still. Yes, go back, please, one slide. No, back. Yes. So the common challenge is actually to create a policy which really moves the society towards a more transformative circular society. Again, all the examples that are mentioned are given in the references with links to those documents. Next slide, please. The third tool is it's essential to recognize that we are not just talking about material flows. Circular economy is an element of the sustainable development policies. So it very much needs to connect to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And for example, the requirements which are written down in the ISO 20006 guidelines. Here I also apply always a more simplified version, which is this cubic with the three dimensions in it, the dimensions of space, I, here, and there. Oh, please go back. One back, please. No, one back, yeah. And then the temporal dimension, we have to look at the past, the present, and the future. And the sustainability dimension about the planet, people, and prosperity. Next slide, please. So the third tool here is a comprehensive view of all the elements of sustainable development. And if you look at the international discussions about sustainable development, often people tend to say that there is not so much consensus, but if you really look on what is happening at the UN level and with all kinds of global initiatives, then this figure represents what I call the broad consensus. And essential is that in any intervention, in any project, the assessment should actually include not only the natural resources aspect, but one has to take care to look at also other planet-related impacts, but also the people and prosperity-related impacts to really get a full picture of the possible improvements which interventions aim to achieve, but also to avoid that there are trade-offs to other topics. So this always needs to be taken as an integrated purpose. Next slide, please. Once you are doing this, it actually opens one's eyes for hidden impacts. And our research on circular economy in the last decade has given many examples of that. And for example, we have done a lot of studies on the implementation of extended producer responsibility, which was launched some 2-3 decades ago. And using these tools, which I just mentioned, it actually allowed us to show very clearly that the current versions of extended producer responsibility are not effective, mainly because the financial mechanism in it is not proper. Please go back. The figure at the left bottom shows how extended producer responsibility schemes are designed. So producers have to take care of the post-user phases and organize the recycling of their products. And the right figure shows the success and failure of this for various material flows in the Netherlands over the last 2 decades. There are good examples. For example, for tires, all the tires are collected and recycled. But for other material flows like plastic, electronics, various forms of packaging, only 70, 80 to sometimes only 40 or 30% of the materials are actually collected, and even less are recycled according to the official systems. This is even only a part of the story, because yes, you may go to the next one. Analyzing with the tools that I mentioned also opens our eyes for the international dimension of circular economy. Circular economy is not about single cycles, but a follow-up of a long sequence of cycles. A lot of the collected materials, and even materials that are collected to be recycled in Europe under the extended producer responsibility schemes, are finally exported either as to be recycled material to Africa or Asia, or as a second-hand product. And there it still ends up in countries like in Middle Africa, where we did a lot of research. And we observed that, for example, in a country, please remain there, in a country like Nigeria, a lot of the electronics used in this country are second, third, fourth-hand materials, computers, washing machines, whatever, which just only last 1 or 2 years and then fall apart. And there is not a good infrastructure in these countries. So what we propose based on that type of analysis is a form of ultimate producer responsibility, in which extended producer responsibility schemes in Europe also pay for the proper recycling and managing of those products in Africa. And actually, with the Dutch government, we are setting up pilots to actually implement that idea. Finally, my fifth tool here is that as long as we are not really focusing on all these possible trade-offs, biases, and blind spots, we will not solve the sustainability challenges. Ultimately, we do need to move to an all-inclusive pricing mechanism in international value chains. And we developed actually a method to make this possible. Also, others have been developing this, but these full pricing mechanisms are not yet mainstreamed. And what I show here on the bottom an outcome of one of these examples of the pilots with this Oiconomy pricing measurement method. It shows for each of the UN-related topics what the hidden price of a product is. Next slide, please. What we do here is the basic idea is that value chain partners, the main value chain partners, do this together. They look at all the P, people, planet, prosperity aspects, and the costs of preventing sustainability impacts is actually calculated and forwarded through the value chain. And at the end of the value chain, the full price of a product can actually be calculated. Once value chain partners start to do this together about their products, they can actually start collaborating on improving the impacts in their value chain. Next slide, please. So summarizing my presentation, I highlighted 5 tools. The first one urges you to monitor with the help of these 10 R's. Check for any initiative if it indeed addresses not only the long loops, but also the short loops, including refuse and reduce. Second tool, identify if policies are actually moving towards the transformational society. Third tool, acknowledge that circular economy is an element of sustainable development and evaluate all your initiatives also on the other sustainable development related aspects. And fourth, acknowledge that circular economy is cross-boundary and upgrade extended producer responsibility programs to ultimate producer responsibility programs. And finally, support the application of the full price calculation. And this is the most important challenge at the end. Final slide, please. Yes. So what we can say, summarizing my presentation in a few words, is that what you see finally depends very much on the glasses that you are wearing. The more comprehensive your measurement framework, the more you will see. And I try to look for a Chinese saying here, and if I'm right, I'm not going to try to do it in Chinese, but what is written here says, care for the front, but ignoring the back, which means something that if you just focus on one aspect and ignore the others, then it will lead to poor decisions. So applying full sustainability and global connections will reveal the hidden and the most alarming shortcomings. And this is what I want to give to the audience. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Walter, for sharing your deep understanding of circular economy, which you have worked research on more than 1 decade. So it is very thankful that you could share with us all your opinions and all the core ideas of your research papers.